Hey guys, welcome to episode 20 of the Game Dev Discussion Podcast. I'm your host Alex Beddoes, and this is the official podcast of the Dynasty Empire. Today we have Senior Environment Analyst at Blizzard, Eric Wiley on, and also a complete mad scientist with substance designer. How we doing, bro?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, I really appreciate you coming on. I know again, it's one of them time zone ones, so anyone listening live, I know this isn't the usual time. I appreciate it. It's not bad, maybe it's good for your
Yeah, no
commute to work and
worries.
stuff.
No, I live right next to Blizzard, actually, like walking distance, so
Oh
it's great.
god, I'm actually really jealous. I have an hour and 20 commute.
I
But
sleep in and kind of go into work at
do you have
10 a.m.
like flexi time sort of thing? Yeah, 10 a.m. and then earliest you can leave like 4 type of thing.
Yeah, core hours. Yep.
Nice, nice. So you're a really experienced guy, and I don't think anyone who's stumbles across your station maybe not realize at first glance by the quality materials. You've got some mileage, man. Like you've worked at some of my personal favorite studios, like ArenaNet. I'm a huge fan of Bungie, Vicarious, Blizzard.
Yeah. I
That's
mean, it doesn't feel like 10 years at all. Like it flies by.
that's
I
so.
don't
What
know.
like? What's the You've been between multiple studios, and this is quite a broad question, so you probably have to take some time to unpack it. What sort of challenges have you faced, like going between these different studios? ArenaNet being an MMO, the Guild Wars type stuff, and you're going to like Bungie, which is like just other end of the spectrum. Um, what sort of like
Yeah.
challenges did you face personally, and what sort of lessons you have to learn pretty quickly?
Um, well, I mean, I think working at multiple studios, it's just like a great way to challenge yourself and just grow as an artist. Like each studio is going to have its own workflows, like its own art culture. Um, I'd say like the first 6 months at every studio is like tons of learning. Um, each studio that I've like gone to, like it's kind of been like a Maya house and then to a 3ds Max house, and like it's literally been every other one. So you have to stay on your feet, and learn new tools,
Hmm?
which is great. Um,
Just you mentioned each studio has its own different art culture. Could you just elaborate a bit on that? 'Cause I think I know what you mean, but that's quite an interesting
yeah.
way of framing it.
Oh, sorry, my cat's meowing at me.
That's cool. No worries.
Yeah, like I'd say like Bungie, for instance, like they're all about their tileable materials, and they're using trim sheets for everything.
Hmm.
Like it's rare that you have like a unique bake for something.
Yeah,
Like um, whereas like at Activision on Skylanders, it seemed like almost everything was a unique bake. Um, I don't know, just like each studio kind of has like their own tribal knowledge,
yeah,
and um, all AAA studios for the most part have their own engine that's like built from the ground up. So, and each one kind of has its own like strengths and weaknesses, I'd say.
yeah. That's cool. That's yeah. That's something I hear a lot. Is like for me, like someone who uses like Unreal and Unity, I see what other engines are doing, and it's like, well, I hear what other engines can do, and it's almost like this like grey area. So like, I suppose actually, I'm guessing we can't talk about strengths and weaknesses really of individual engines. Probably something we
Yeah.
can't talk about. But what about like you mentioned Bungie? It's there's a lot of trim sheets, a lot of tilables. Is that where you sort of really started getting stuff like designer? Was that the first dipping your toe in a bit?
Um, yeah, I was actually at Activision at Vicarious during Destiny 2, like in 2016, and yeah, that's when I started to dip my toes in designer. Um, I don't know, just as a studio, it seemed like we were kind of evaluating like the Quixel suite with like Endo and stuff. I think it was before Mixer, and then we also had Substance Painter and Substance Designer that we were checking out. And yeah, obviously Substance like won out for us.
Yeah.
Um,
What attracted you, like you personally, to designer? Like, because so anyone who doesn't know, like on your art station, you've got and it's substance designer materials. There's some of the highest quality ones on our
yeah,
station. What is it that
I mean
like attracts you?
it was ArtStation. I like seeing like Ben Wilson's work and Chris Hodgson, Rogelio, like his Uncharted stuff. so like I was kind of like sold on like the strength of it, but like I don't know, the first time I opened it, I like hated it. Like it didn't seem like like an artist friendly program at all. Like I wanted to go back to ZBrush. Like actually when I first opened Designer, I was like, "Oh, wait, this is I think this is for making shaders. Oh yeah, Substance Painter. That's the one that I want, you know." And so I kind of went back to Substance Painter, and
Unfortunately, I know exactly what you mean. I know when I opened Designer first time, I was like, nah, this isn't for me. Opened it about 4 more times before I finally like actually tried to make something, which was because I followed one of Ben Wilson's tutorials, and I'm just
yeah.
like, when I first opened, I was like, this isn't for artists. This is like a programmer tool. I don't want this. And it's only
I have to
the same as
mention
you. Oh, go on.
I have to mention Daniel Tiger too, because
Oh, dude,
like
he's a wizard.
yeah, he pretty much like encouraged me to even create my art station and just uh like work on substances on my own and stuff. So yeah,
Well, let's talk a bit about that. You how okay? Let's talk about the relationship between you and him with the is it Level Up Digital, the tutorial for the tentacles. We'll talk about the
yeah.
tentacles in a minute because they are one of the every substance house I talk to is like I don't understand how that's possible, and I'm in that category. So before we get onto
Yeah.
them, because I think there's a lot to talk about them. What how does that relationship work? Is it you just going to do a one-off tutorial, or is it like something you're going to do continuous tutorials with?
Yeah, it's something that I can add to. Like, um, he's basically looking for collaborators to just um, create like a community of like full length videos that are step by step tutorials,
Mm-hmm.
like as opposed to like selling assets or just like a graph with like labeled nodes. Like, I think you learn a lot more, and you're actually like picking up the techniques used when you watch like a video tutorial as opposed to like a written article, for example.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Well, I know that Daniel's tutorials where he did like the principles of substance, and he's just like showing here's how you can make rock in 5 different ways. Here's how you can make ground in 5 different ways. I
Oh yeah,
find
they're
that
great.
very.
You
I
know,
think they're really useful.
yeah, I wish they existed like when I was learning designer.
I have to admit, I've been kind of well. I suppose I'm always learning. Yeah, I first
Oh yeah,
started
me
with
too.
like is Ben. Like he's the one I followed, and he was like my main point of reference for learning. Plus, like the Dynasty Empire, like the guys in there, Josh was in there, Ben was in there, and they were helping me learn. And it was like I got to like a certain level, and then Daniel started releasing. He released like 4 or 5 parts to that fundamentals one, and I picked up like 2 parts just to like sort of brush up on a few things. I was like,
Yeah,
holy shit,
yeah,
there's some really crazy workflows, like the quantized workflow where you like quantize bevel shadow. I was like, that is insane. I never even thought to use them nodes like that.
yeah. I mean, the
What?
more I use designer, like I don't know, like I still feel like a novice in other areas. You know, like I don't know, like there's like 100 ways to do like anything really, and I don't know.
It's weird though, isn't it? Because it kind of reminds me of like the rest of the 3D world. Like there's 10 different ways you can model something. There's 10 different ways in ZBrush to get the outcome you want. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's very weird how that works. Um, so let's just talk about the tutorial then. What was the? Did you have like an in your head? Did Daniel even say, okay, we need this type of thing? Because yours is a very like math heavy, crazy like functionality thing. Now,
Yeah.
was that something from the offset that Daniel said, "Oh, I want you to, I need to see this type of tutorial," or did you in your head go, "Oh, I'd like to make one where I'm showing this side of the designer"? Like, how did that come about?
No, he let me pick, but I don't know. I was kind of like I had done my fish material that I was known for, and like my debris pile, which was pretty popular. And so I don't know. I just kind of wanted to do something that was like pretty different, you know. um, and it really was just kind of an experiment to like try something new and just use functions, which I really hadn't used very much of before.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I mean when I started it, like I kind of just like I knew I wanted to use like the shape extrude, and I knew there was something cool there that I could use, but I didn't know exactly how,
I thought that was
or
using a
if
shape
I could
extrude.
even get there. Like,
So them tentacles are made using shape extrude. Essentially, it's like a
yeah,
load of metal stuff
each
behind.
sucker along the tentacle is its own little cylinder shape extrude.
Oh my goody god, that's
Yeah. Yeah, and it's the function that controls the rotation. I don't want to spoil it because
no, no,
you
no.
can
Of
check
course
out the
not.
tutorial. But
Damn, that's damn, that's
yeah, I
crazy.
mean, like I don't know. It seems pretty technical at first, but I don't know. I don't think of myself as that technical. I mean, like I'll use functions, but like I rarely ever like use the pixel processor or anything like that. Like that's, I don't know, a little beyond me, I'd say.
Yeah,
um, for the most part I can get almost any result like just with like um, the regular nodes,
dude.
like
They
yeah, I barely ever use like external nodes. Even like everything on my ArtStation is just like straight out of the box designer.
what sort of designer sort of I don't want to call them skills, but like what in designer do you still want to develop and learn more about? Is there anything you're like, okay, I've got this down, I've got this down. I really need to explore that more. Is there anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, like whenever they add new nodes, like I'm I feel like I'll get the latest version, but like I'm still stuck in my old ways, and it'll take me a while before I actually like start using the new nodes. Like,
Yeah,
so I don't know. I kind of just have to force myself. Like, okay, I need to use this node. Like I need to stop using tile sampler always and use like shape splatter more.
dude.
Stuff like that.
Some of the new nodes have been really nice. They're like nice quality of life inclusions. I, I mean, biggest change I think for me, like update wise, was I think when they introduced flood fill. Even
Oh
flood fill and
yeah.
shape extrude. Like flood fill for me was just like it. A whole chunk of my workflow is just like made so much easier.
Yeah,
Was
especially
there?
when they like updated flood fill to just like work, like
Yeah,
before
yeah.
you
When
get like errors.
oh
Like I
god.
remember like 3D artist wanted me to do like a garbage material for the magazine, and like I had a whole section on how to like fix like flood fill errors, and I like turned it in. I was done with it, but there was like 2 months between like me
Oh
finishing it and when
no.
they published it, and then Substance like fixed the flood fill, and it was just like amazing. I was like, oh god.
Yeah, I can see like just looking at the material, I can see where you'd use a lot of the flood fill for the
Yeah.
garbage one. What Okay, so they fixed flood fill. In your experience, is there a wish list, or is there like some things where you talk to people and you say, God, I love design art, it'd be really nice if it did X. Is there any of that
Yeah.
stuff?
Like for like my tentacles, like I kind of built it in segments. um like I think like on Gumroad right now there's actually a really awesome like spline tool. Like I really think Algorithmic should add like an official spline node where you can just like place points and then you can like spawn patterns down the length of the
Hmm.
spline. That'd be awesome.
That node's
um
very powerful. I use that one for one of my materials, my Aztec Warlike, to draw that
oh
the
yeah, it's
dragon's heads.
awesome.
It's a really powerful node.
Like another one, like I've seen some pretty cool like erosion nodes on ArtStation. Like I know Cloud Imperium has a pretty cool one, and it basically just turns Substance Designer into like World Machine. Like it looks
Ooh.
awesome. Like I think that would be a great node to add. Um, and then there's just things that like I'm surprised that Substance Designer doesn't have. Like in the 3D viewport in Painter, you can just like switch to like the unlit albedo, unlit normal, or roughness.
Yes,
Like
yes,
I
I
don't know why
know.
Designer doesn't have that like out of the box. Like I'm sure it'll
Yeah,
get there, but
yeah, that is a very
um,
useful one because, like, say for example, at the moment I'm doing a stylized texture only in the albedo, and it's like I can't really look at the 3D viewport because it's not what I'm gonna have at the end, so I'm only looking at the 2D viewport, which is kind of
yeah,
weird. Um,
exactly.
I think it.
Yeah, another one.
Go on.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, the only thing I would say I would like to see is more support for the like the exposed parameters where you have like the visible ifs and all that sort of stuff. It
Yeah,
feels like they've done a first pass on that, and there's a few bits which don't make sense, or there's a few expressions which are like, that logically doesn't feel right, and it's a bit clunky. I'd like to see
Yeah,
that sort of elaborate a bit more because that's quite an important tool for me.
yeah. No, I completely agree. That could be like simplified and just made
Made
easier.
nicer,
I,
yeah.
I'm surprised that they don't have like a fully 3D like model import node yet. I know like Javier talked about like having like a node where you could just like rotate a 3D model and get like a height map out of it. I know some people have some on Gumroad, but like that should be like built into Substance, I feel like.
It'd be insane, and it would. For me, that would be the next step for Substance because then it suddenly becomes this. How do you describe it? It suddenly becomes almost a modeling package, like
Yeah.
because then you could just have like these multiple pieces coming together to form this big thing. It becomes a very
Yeah.
different beast. That would be
I mean,
exciting.
like I built that fish, but it's only from like one side of the fish,
Mm.
Like like if I could just sculpt a quick fish in ZBrush and bring it in, then I could have a fish that's like belly up, like one that's like like facing down and
Yeah,
rotated
yeah.
all around, it'd look a lot more natural, I feel like.
Well, you'd be able to actually iterate it better because I suppose like the alternative is like have the top one and then render out the top one like grab alpha and then you like flip it around in
Yeah.
ZBrush, grab alpha, do this, grab alpha. Whereas if you had it
Or
actually
I
in
wish you could
Acts,
I wish you could just have like a model be like a resource, and then you
yeah,
like it's like the node itself just like knew like the rotation of the model to to like use as an alpha, if that makes sense.
no,
I don't know.
I think it'd be
It's a,
perfect. It'd be perfect because I
yeah.
can already imagine it. Like you do a height blend, so say like your fish, you have a height blend into the blood, and then you can then move like this pivot point, right, like the 3D extrude node. You have this point you move in,
Yeah.
and you can just move the fish around to just fit into the space it's in perfectly.
Yes, exactly. But I mean, I already think of like Substance in like 3D, like max lighten is intersecting geo, min darken is a boolean, like
Yeah.
slope blur can like inflate or pinch.
Oh, it's interesting.
Like,
You actually think of it in them like them terms.
yeah, kind of
Hmm.
like in ZBrush terms a little bit.
Would you say ZBrush is still like you've mentioned a couple of times? Like, is that still for you main, your most like, main software, or like the one you're most adhered to? Like how?
No, I mean I occasionally use it, but yeah, I spend the majority of my day in Designer, but yeah, I still use like Maya a lot and ZBrush here and there.
Do you? Is it fair to consider yourself at this point materials artist, or is it like you do so many different things that it
Uh,
wouldn't be right to be a materials artist?
yeah, I'm like half and half. I feel like.
Are you So speaking of materials, you mentioned you spend a lot of time in designer. What about Quixel Mixer, Alchemist? I'm putting them both in the same category because for me they're basically the same piece of
Yeah,
software. Um,
no,
have you spent much
exactly.
Have you spent much time with them?
I did download it and I've messed around with it a little bit, but I feel like Alchemist was just like Algorithmic's like answer to Mixer in a lot of ways.
Mm,
Like I tend to want to start my like materials from scratch, and I feel like both Mixer and Alchemist like encourage you to like start with a photo or start with existing materials, But and they're built around just like getting results fast. I feel like
yeah,
so they're pretty powerful, especially if you don't know Designer. But if you're like pretty experienced in Designer, like I don't know, like how useful it is. But I could definitely see if you're working with photos a lot or photogrammetry that like it could be awesome.
yeah, I think so. Because I think with photogrammetry, you're sort of limited in your ability to manipulate and tweak with it. Whereas I suppose Alchemist and Mixer, and I suppose it makes sense for Mixer because obviously Quixel have doubled down on the whole photo scan stuff. But
Yeah.
it makes it a lot easier
I
to
mean,
iterate.
yeah, as those libraries get like bigger, it's gonna like those tools are gonna become more and more powerful. Like each substance source like addition like makes
Mm,
Alchemist better.
I was a little bit I was a little bit disappointed by Alchemist. I expected something plus something. So like like you said, it's an answer to Mixer, but there was nothing in
Yeah,
there to make me go, I want to use Alchemist over Mixer. Other than the libraries, I take the libraries out of the equation. As a piece of
yeah.
software, I just felt like it was Mixer as Substance's branding.
No, I'd agree with that. Like I actually had a pretty negative opinion of Mixer for a long time, but like seeing what Victor Omen like did, I think
Mm,
that's how you pronounce his name. Like he's like an art lead at Quixel. Like it seemed like somebody would make a cool shield in Substance Designer, and he would make a cool shield in Mixer. Somebody would make
yeah.
like a building facade in Substance, and he'd make an awesome building facade in Mixer. So I was like, oh man, Mixer can really
Yeah,
keep up to Substance. You know, I'm
he did.
surprised.
He did make me take more notice of Mixer because, like I said, he anything that's cool I saw in Designer, he was like, well, we could do that just as easily in Mixer. Like, yeah, like I
Yeah,
said, the
it's funny because it
shield
was just that
buildings.
one guy, like, just single-handedly, like, showing the power of Mixer.
He is a beast. He's one of those guys who got me originally into quick. So like back in 2015, 14, is when there was this Endo and Dido, and
Yeah,
he was doing his tutorials on that, and I was like, holy shit, this guy's amazing. Like, I'm gonna start following him, and he was probably one of the like early artists where I was like, I'm just gonna follow him and just like keep track of the work he's doing.
yeah.
Before I was on our station, or I didn't really use Polycount or anything like that. I just literally used to see his work and have a Pinterest board and just pin his work onto that. Um,
Nice. I'm really
but
curious, like, where texturing will be, like, in 10 years. Like, uh, I think, like, with AI and, like, machine learning coming on and,
hmm,
like, seeing what, like, NVIDIA is doing with, like, whatever, like, the Gigan and, like, have you seen, like, their city demo where they've, like,
it's terrifying.
taught like an AI to like just by like watching like street cameras and then like it like textures like a real time environment. It's crazy.
It's really scary. I'm gonna ask you the same question actually. I had this conversation with Josh Lynch about the future of say material art. Um, I spent a lot of time talking to people about procedural, procedurality, where it's going, what it's doing. See Houdini, pulling up trees at the moment, some of the stuff it could do. Um, and Josh gave a very good answer. I just want to give a bit of context to the conversation. So my question was, where will material art be in 10 years? With procedurality becoming so popular, you're seeing what Mixer can do, you're seeing what photogrammetry can do for materials. Are material artists going to become not what they are currently? Um, and his answer was surprising. He basically said that you're always going to need customization. You're always going to have materials where you say, oh, I want less stones or more stones. You're going to want that level of adjustment. He thinks that material art ain't going to change a great deal. We're just going to incorporate photogrammetry more. So he references Shadow Mordor work where they had a photogrammetry base and then they worked on top of that and added more layers and detail and all this sort of stuff. That's where he's stood on the matter. I'm curious, where do you think material art's going to be in 10 years? Do you think the photogrammetry is just going to completely take over and at some point, you know, traditional ways of creating material is going to fall to the wayside? And the example I think I gave of this originally was ZBrush no longer is if I said to somebody in industry, I need to make a tolerable material, 99% will probably say, right, let's go to design now, let's make our material. Very few, I feel like, go to ZBrush anymore, just because ZBrush is a little bit
Yeah,
slower, but it offers more control. The trade-off is design is
yeah,
way quicker, but you don't have as much control as ZBrush, and that's the
yeah.
trade-off.
Exactly. Then your
Uh,
art director will say, "I want 10 stones here instead of 5," and then in
exactly.
ZBrush it's like a whole day of reworks, but in Designer you can just fix it right there.
So photogrammetry goes that step
Yeah,
further in terms of it's even quicker, but you got even less control. So where do you think? So that's the context of the conversation. What do you think?
I
10
think
years?
yeah, I think photogrammetry will take over for like realistic games. Like, I think like Megascan's library is just going to be like gigantic one day, and it's going to be the cheapest way to go. And I think you'll see like more indie studios. Like once we hit like photoreal, like once like Naughty Dog, crosses the line or whatever, like once we're like fully photoreal, I think you'll start to see like more indie studios like have photoreal games because that's like the cheapest way to do things. And I think you'll see like AAA studios like go back towards stylized
Mm.
uh, and like try more like unique things.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I think you'll always need like that artist control. I feel like unless you're like going out and like scanning the exact environment you want, you know, like like photogrammetry like can't design stuff that doesn't exist, you know.
Yeah.
Like
Well, do you think though that so you mentioned that like game studios will go more like stylized almost? I always think that photogrammetry has a limit just because games aren't realistic. Like you look at the way we model stuff, you know how far we push bevels, all this type of stuff, the size. We don't go
yeah,
to real life because real life's quite boring
yeah,
and hard to read.
we kind of stay in like a hyper real, you know, like
Yeah, yeah.
we make
Uh,
it better than real life. You know, like
So,
it's more fantastical, more
do you,
beautiful.
do you think photogrammetry? That's where the like maybe the pitfall would be is that it's too real, and I don't want to say too real because obviously you can never
Well,
get too real, but you know,
I think that like the when an artist goes out to capture like a rock, you know, they're cherry picking like the best rocks, you know,
it's
like
true.
people are going to Iceland to choose like, you know, like the best cliffs in the world. So I feel like when you have those, like, it's gonna come down to like lighting and like like scene composition and stuff. I think you'll still be able to bring like the hyper real and like just make like the most fantastic looking scenes, you know,
Mm.
like with like the realistic materials. Um, I mean, that's my opinion anyway. You know, I mean,
Yeah, no, that's why it's interesting talking to different people about this because I've had this conversation a few times. It's a very interesting conversation to have because the opinions vary a lot, and it's interesting. I
yeah, I
think
mean,
Tim,
I feel like film has kind of like crossed into like the environments are like real now, you know,
mm,
and I mean, I mean, if you look at like Avatar, for example, like the floating islands, like the rock material on there is like straight up real, you know. It's just kind of
yeah,
like the design of like the floating islands that make it like fantastical and unique.
films did surprise me because I mean even with the most recent one with Aquaman, a lot of stuff in there I thought was practical effects. You know, stuff like slate tiles off the roof falling. And I was like, oh, that's a practical effect. And then I saw James Lucas post his work he did on it, and I was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
that was 3D. Fucking okay, that's really surprising. I did not think that. So that's good to have stage where even like me, I'm not noticed. I mean, there's some bits which are obviously 3D, and that's because they don't exist in real world. But there's little things like that. Like I'm like, oh, I couldn't even tell that was 3D.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, with
interesting.
the environments especially, like I still feel like I can pick out like characters pretty easily and
Yeah,
like CG animals. But I mean they're getting close, you know.
I think they're pretty much there. I think the problem is with characters and humans, they cross the line into Uncanny Valley way too quick. Easily, should I
Yeah.
say? I mean, I think the only time I've really felt like they nailed it was in Star Wars when they recreated God, what's his name? His
Oh,
name
Tarkin.
Tarkin. Yeah, yeah. I felt like
Yeah.
that's the best 3D created
Yeah.
person.
I it's still not quite there though. I feel like it looks perfect, but like something with the animation and the muscles seems slightly off to me. I don't
Mm.
know.
No, no, I know what you mean. I
But
know what you mean.
yeah. But like just like the if you're looking at like a still image of that, like it looks perfect, you know. Like
It's weird, isn't it?
the
Though?
renderings down.
The brain messes with me though, because in my head I'm like, I know this guy. I know it's not real. Even though, like, if I didn't know that person, say for example, I've never seen a movie, I never knew that guy, and they showed me that, I probably wouldn't think twice. But
Yeah.
because I know it's 3D, like, because I know the guy's dead, I'm
They also
really
brought
staring at it.
like what did you think of the latest Blade Runner? Like they brought back like the love interest from the first film. That seemed pretty
Um,
realistic.
I've only watched it the one time, and I'll be honest, I spent most. I need to watch it again to really get into it. I didn't spend much time looking at the characters. I spent most of my time looking at this, like the lighting and
Oh
the
yeah, me
scene
too.
composition. 'Cause it basically, I watched it off the back of doing my podcast with TJ, and TJ's
Oh
been spending a
yeah.
long time talking about like composition principles and tangents and all this sort of stuff. And when I
Yeah.
watched Blade Runner, and I just spent all my time just like really trying to think about it and looking at them sort of things. So I don't think I actually absorbed the movie. Like,
Well, they have a pretty good fully CG character. that film as well.
I haven't seen the original Blade Runner, also that probably doesn't help.
Oh, okay.
So I need to watch that as well. But I've been told I can't really watch it now. Apparently, it's aged not brilliantly.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But I mean, the new one is like, I don't know. I feel like it has like perfect production values across the board.
I've got to watch it again. I just want to come back to the photogrammetry conversation a little bit.
Yeah.
So one thing I do think is, I'm trying to think the best way to explain this. It's something Tim said to me when he was on a podcast. He was on about like, you can proceduralize pretty much any point of the workflow. You can't proceduralize creativity. You know,
Yeah.
adding mood, quote mood, all these types of things. What do you think about that as a way of thinking about it? Like, does
Yeah.
that mean that we're
I
going to lose
mean,
like environment and model? Let's say, for example, we have, as of just a rough estimate, I don't know, 100,000 material artists in the world. I know that's where the overestimate just for
yeah.
this point. 100,000 procedurality really kicks in. Now we only have say 10,000 because you only need 10,000 people to work with what we have, whereas before we needed 100,000 because we were creating things from scratch. Do you see it having that kind of effect on the industry?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, I feel like tools are getting better and better, but like you still have to make artistic decisions, you know?
Yeah.
Like even like if I have like an AI assistant one day that's doing like everything, you know, like doing all the UVs, like all the actual modeling, like I still have to like tell it the kind of rock that I want, you know, or
Mm-hmm.
like I still have to make the artistic decisions that uh, add up to the end result of the game, you know. I don't know.
You.
I feel like as tools get easier, like I think more people will make their own games. Maybe like
Mm,
the industry will kind of just like spread out. Like maybe it won't take like like 500 people to make like an awesome AAA game anymore. Like it can be done with 100, you know, or
that's how
something.
I see it. Is that it doesn't take as many people to make that amazing game, but you've just touched on the same point, and this is my like optimistic side. Like it means there's gonna be more people creating games because it doesn't need so much manpower.
Yeah, I already feel like or like kids that are learning 3D have it so easy today. Like PBR like like just makes a lot of sense, you know, like having a metal map, you know, makes a lot more sense than what we were doing like with specular. Uh, I feel
Hmm.
like Unity and Unreal and like Marmoset, like they're just like amazing renderers. Like the best that have like ever existed for like real-time art, you know. And then you have like online resources now like Level 80 and Gumroad and stuff. Like it's like amazing today, like, you know, like
I'm just jealous of the art communities, the way they behave these days. Like I was talking to one. There's a guy in our Discord. He's 17, and he's a shit hot modeler, and he's just got all these people around him supporting and helping him. And I'm like, damn, like when I was 17, like in fact, I'd love to have had like a Dynasty Empire or like anything, any Discord community, but mainly that one, that's one I interact with. Like,
yeah,
just
I agree.
imagining having that when I'm developing, like, because I didn't jump into that till I was like 23. Oh God, 17, like that'll be an extra what, 6 years of development with professionals guiding you and helping you, and like that just blows my mind.
Yeah. I remember like modeling a castle in high school, like using like it was like a free like 3ds Max like from Discrete, I forget what it was called. But and like I downloaded like some like really crappy like game engine, you know, that couldn't do anything like I don't know, like the tools today are amazing. Like
Well, that's why I always now I'm becoming I don't know, a bit cynic in terms of I like seeing things in engine way more now, in an engine should I say, because Marmosets are so amazing. I'm like, Marmoset makes a couple of grey cubes look seriously fucking cool. So I'm like,
yeah.
with my materials, I'm making like a super conscious effort of putting them into an engine, just because I'm like, you can make things look really really good in Marmoset, and I'm like, can they hold up in the engine? And that's where like it's something I've learned the hard way, where I've made something and it looks great in Marmoset, like I've made it look really good, And I took it to my engine. I'm like, something's not right. It doesn't hold up as well. Okay, I need to
Yeah.
figure this out now. And I'm like, since then, I've just been like, okay, maybe I should always just have that example of it in engine, because that's the sort of final check. That, okay, it works in engine, brilliant. It works in the shader, does what it's meant to do.
Yeah, I like that. Like, I think that's a good idea. I do feel like Unreal is like strong enough though that you could like match the quality of Marmoset. Like it would just
Yeah,
take a lot more work. Like Marmoset is just like so user friendly, you know. Like,
yeah. Unreal's been, yeah, it's a lot harder to get that setup right, and it's a lot harder
yeah.
to iterate it as well. Like when you're setting your shader up, I'm like, in Marmoset, I can just tweak the parameters. Really, it's like a
Oh yeah.
slider. Yeah. Oh, this
You know, you
AO is
don't
a bit
even have to
strong.
author a correct roughness. Like, oh, I'll just
No.
slide it. Oh yeah, they're perfect. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Or the AO, like, you got them in the AO, then like the diffuse with cavity AO, and it's like, oh, it's just a little bit strong. I'll just dial back the cavity one a little bit. Oh, the GI's been a little bit not right, so I'll just tweak that a little bit. Like, or the lighting's not right, I'll just swap out for a different sky map. It's so quick. Whereas like Unreal, everything's a little bit okay. It's not designed to be that, so that's why. So I'm not like hating on Unreal. I love Unreal, but
Yeah, yeah.
having it in there, one, you have to have the actual the technical shader working in order for it to work, which is like one step. And also just setting up lighting properly in Unreal is just so much more difficult.
Yeah. It's funny that like Marmoset has become like kind of like a standard for like showing materials, and they're always like displaced. But like how many games like actually have like displaced terrain? Like
I
not many.
know, I know. Well,
It's funny.
this is why I'm also considering like spending more time looking at stuff like Pond. So, and the only really I was talking to Michael yesterday about this. I was watching Jeremy's stream when he was messing with decal machine in the blender,
Yeah.
and the decals looked amazing. Like they look like they're displacing. The decals look really fucking good. And we're both
Blender
watching the
is
same
like
time.
past 3ds Max, like as far
Oh
as
mate,
like
it
hard
has.
surface modeling goes. Like it's amazing.
Actually, speaking of, I'm gonna cop so much shit for this, but because I'm talking about Blender, and it's like sort of a meme at this point. What's your? Have you looked at it? Have you interested in it? Dabbled in it at
Yeah,
all?
like like I'm totally sold on like the power of Blender now. Like I kind of feel like Autodesk is kind of like like given up in a way, like or they're just like, like we're we're like you know, like the standard for the industry, you know, like we don't really
Mm,
have to improve or iterate.
yep.
And Blender's over here just like having like amazing updates like one after another. And yeah, I mean like I actually don't do that much modeling, but like the next time I do a personal project, I'm gonna use Blender, like for sure.
Yeah. It's
Like,
what's really interesting is Michael Kinsey. He's a lead artist for Decagon, and he was listening. He basically were in a conversation. He was listening to the Blender Summit, which happened like a day ago or 2 days ago, and he was saying they're not even slowing down. Like they've dropped 2.8, the first official build. Everyone blew up about it. Everyone loves Blender, and they're already rolling like talking about the next update, the next update, the next update. And I'm just like
nice,
Jesus. And
yeah,
like this would be the time where you'd think they'd go right. We're done. We're done a little bit. We can chill. They're not. They're not. They're keeping it up, man. I'm like, oh, it's so refreshing to
yeah,
see.
yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
I mean, I will say though, like from what I've seen in Modo, I think Modo is up there with Blender as well. Although it hasn't got that like caveat of obviously Blender's free, but in terms of like them two, I think them two are really good bits of software. And I'm hoping, and I don't know what happens with a big giant like Autodesk. I'd like to see it be a kick up the ass a little bit and
Yeah, me
see
too.
them like I don't want to see the company like sort of slowly fall to wayside. That'd be sad. I want to see them sort of go, okay, we need to up our game a little bit, and then you get this, like what Quixel and Substance are doing to each other. Like one does one thing,
Yeah,
the other does,
exactly.
and you're constantly driving competition. I'm really hoping Autodesk sort of takes it as a kick up the ass and not a nail in the coffin.
Yeah, I mean, you get the latest version of Maya every year, and there's like, I don't know, like five new features, you know, and none of them are like huge.
No,
Like, I don't know. I really hope they're paying attention to Blender.
I hope so. But yeah, sorry. So back to like the Poms. I saw what the decals are doing, and they looked incredible. And Michael was saying, "Oh, that's with Pom. That's a really good Pom shader." I'm like, oh, maybe I need to look more into like because I've got like a really like nice, dirty, quick Pom shader for Unreal, and I'm like, Maybe that's what I should start doing materials rather than rendering displaced materials, render POM materials. And like, and then, so
Yeah.
I'm always thinking about raising displaying materials because I find it interesting. We use balls. Everyone uses balls for their render, and it's just sort of like
Yeah.
it's just accepted. Not in a bad way. It's just it's interesting. I'm like, there's this weird little thing that's caught on. So like, okay, what will be the next
Yeah, I
thing
agree.
to catch on?
Yeah, eventually people will get tired of balls, and there'll be a new a new thing that catches on, and that'll be the new hot thing.
I mean, I
Um,
think it'd be nice to have like this sort of, when you do the plane renders, you have your ball and you have the flat render.
yeah,
Like taking a flat render and like having a side by side of like tessellation versus POMs and seeing like how it looks. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting.
yeah. No, I agree.
You said you don't do much modelling. Like, what with your personal projects? So obviously, with your art station, you've only got materials on
Oh,
there.
dude, man, I am so bad about finishing like personal projects. Like no joke, I probably have like 20 things that are started and at like various states of completion, and like probably the main reason I only have material balls is because you can finish a material in
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a week or two, you know. And the last two that I did, like the debris pile and the tentacles, like I had a deadline, so I
You
had to
forced
finish
into it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
but Substance is great for that though. Like, that's why I like it, and I know that's why a lot of artists sort of gravitate towards it. It's like I can actually finish a project. Like, because when you start an environment's like what 4 or 5 month undertaking at least. Whereas materials you can
yeah.
be done with within a week if you sort of hit it every evening.
But that said, I mean, I do try to like like work on my own environments at home. You know, like I would like to do like an entire environment. Like sometimes it's hard to like stay inspired, you know, because you're kind of giving it all at work or
Mm,
you know, like I love what I do. Like it's super easy to just like fall in love with a project and give it your all at work, and then and you know like you come home and you want to like give your personal art like that love too, but it's hard to stay inspired. That's what I struggle with.
yeah, yeah, I completely agree. Well, at the moment, I mean, my personal life has now took a backward step completely because I'm doing like freelance on top of the work, and I'm like, in my day, there's just not enough time for the personal work anymore. And I was talking about it actually. What do you think about like, um, yeah, this is gonna be very interesting. Your experience, dude, actually.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not that experienced. I don't know. I don't
no,
feel like I'm
but
like a master of anything.
no. But you're at that stage in your career. I spoke a bit about this with a lot of the experienced guys who come on. You're at that stage of your career where you don't need to grind your face against a wall to get where you want to be. You've there. You've got a great CV with some amazing studios on there, so you don't have to like hustle so hard.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think that's why I only posted like designer balls on my art station is because like once I got pretty good at designer, you know, I knew I wanted that to kind of be like the center of my workflow. You know, like
mhm.
I wouldn't mind working in designer every day. So let's just make my portfolio substances and just see where it gets me. You know, and I don't know. I feel like ArtStation like really has like changed my life. You know, like
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like recruiters come to you, you know, a lot just by looking at your work or finding you on ArtStation.
So,
And
how to explain? How to word this so I sound like a dick? Is that stage of your career? So I class myself as still in this stage. That one stage where you are grinding your face against the wall, churning out work, trying to fill a portfolio. I mean, I'm assuming you did go through that. You must have to get to where you are today. That you know, ticking boxes, trying to have X example in your portfolio, Y example in your portfolio.
yeah,
You went through all that.
yeah.
I
I
always
mean,
think, is it worth it? Like, is it the right thing to do? Because in my head, my opinion is this: yeah, you have to. It's sort of the rite of passage to get into where you want to go. But then a lot of guys
yeah,
I
I
speak
agree.
to say, "Oh, yeah, but then like it's after you've done that, you have to then find your love for the art again. And that's the bit where I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. And it's kind of a shame you need to do that. Does that mean it's the right thing to do if you have to do that? So like, just as what are your thoughts on that sort of that process as an artist a little bit?
Um, what do you mean, like the love for the art? I mean, I still feel like I'm like super passionate
So
about
it was talking to
like
Ryan
environment art in
yesterday,
general.
talking to Ryan Kingson, and when you're sort of grinding, you're ticking boxes. You're not necessarily creating art you want to create. So say for example, at the moment for me, I'm creating an environment which I don't like organic environments, but I'm like, oh, I haven't got that in my portfolio. I should probably create an example of that. So I'm starting to do that sort of stuff, and you do that so much where you don't burn out, but you don't enjoy the work as much, and you get into that mindset. And
Oh
Ryan was
yeah,
talking about he's constantly fighting against when he gets home, he doesn't do anything to do with furthering himself. He does something he just wants to enjoy, and that's a complete mind shift. That's like a mental state you have to switch into. Not
yeah.
thinking about your development, you're thinking about your enjoyment as an artist.
No, that's a great way to put it. I think that's extremely important. Like do what you enjoy. Like like I hope like when you view a portfolio, like one of the worst things that you can do is like have a portfolio that just lacks focus. So I'd encourage people to make that focus something that you enjoy. You know, like if you enjoy materials, like try to have your materials stand out in your portfolio. You know, like
But
like sometimes like I'll talk to an artist and they'll like spend a long time like modeling a car or modeling like a sci-fi corridor just because they think that's what
the
their
meme.
portfolio needs, but I'm like, dude, what, don't do that, unless that's what you want to do, like, or
Mm,
else you're gonna if you're miserable modeling one car, what if you get hired to model cars, you're just gonna hate your life.
yeah.
So like definitely like probably choose like the aspect of environment art or whatever it is that you love the most, and just try to tailor your portfolio for that.
I
And
mean,
yeah,
it's
that's
hard
not to say
though.
you can't be like a 3D generalist, like be good at everything, just like try to have a little bit of focus for the thing that you enjoy like the most.
But I suppose it's hard
Like
though, because if you're
sometimes,
early on though, if you're early on in your career, and all you want is a job, you're not thinking, I want to be a
yeah,
materials artist. I don't want to be. I suppose, and this is coming from like the way I view it as well. It's like I want to work at Ubisoft one day.
yeah,
Now that's a pretty broad statement. Ubisoft does a lot of things,
yeah,
so it's like I'll.
I'd definitely say specialize, like
Do you think?
yeah, I think like big teams especially, like they'll have like a foliage artist, like they'll have like material artists, they'll have people that are focused on architecture, people that are focused on like organics,
Hmm?
like uh, I feel like just becoming like kind of like an expert at one of those, like even becoming an expert at like marvelous designer, like, and maybe you can make a lot of tarps and tents and stuff, like
Do you
I
think that
think that
would come though? Like once you're in the studio, does the specialization come later? So say for example, like,
uh
that statement I want to give to Ubisoft. If I'm like I'm an okay generalist, like I'm a 3D environment artist, so I can make environments, I can make materials, I can do scene composition. Is it later that you sort of go, okay, we need you to be a materials artist, and that's where the focus then comes, or do you think it's better to focus before you're there?
I think it's better to focus before, because then
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of like a badass in one area, and then you can kind of like because at least you'll get their attention. If you're a generalist, like, and you're not like very exceptional at any one thing, like you'll probably get like passed over for like another artist. Like
Is that a bit of a gamble? Like
yeah, it
say
is.
you go material art. I'm like, right, I'm gonna be a materials artist. That's what I'm gonna be. I'm gonna focus on that. And there's way less material artist roles than there are just say quote environment artist roles. Is that a bit of a
Yeah.
gamble, or is it not? It might not be. It might be
Uh,
being the specialist is what creates the role for you.
it No, I think it is, but like if you're targeting like one of the big studios, like I think you definitely have to stand out above the competition.
Mm-hmm.
But like like indie studios, for example, like they'll want like more of a 3D generalist, or a jack of all trades. And so I think that, and they'll probably be more likely to hire like somebody like straight out of school. Um, so I don't
That's
know. It is
interesting.
kind of like a gamble. Like,
No, that's interesting because it's I think that's gonna be quite refreshing for people to hear, and I think a lot of people will find that useful to hear, especially coming from you.
yeah.
I know
I mean,
people look up to you a lot.
I mean, I was surprised. Like, I mean, I had like 6 materials on my art station, and a studio's like willing to fly me across the country to interview me. Like without seeing any other work. And I didn't
That's
have
very
my
interesting.
resume on my art station or anything. So
Really?
like, yeah, quality over quantity always. I'd say. Like just have a few things and like have make them as awesome as possible, and
That's interesting.
you'll stand out.
So we're gonna start wrapping up. I'm gonna ask you the question. I never warned my guests about this question.
All right.
You could go back and talk to say 17-year-old Eric. Any advice?
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to say to him? Any advice you'd like to give to him?
Ooh. I mean, I'd say like the main thing I've learned in this industry, like the main lesson, is like just be a nice guy and like stay humble. Like every single studio that I've worked with would rather hire like the good artist that people like to work with, rather than hiring like the best artist ever that has a huge ego and doesn't get along with anyone.
Mm,
Like not that I've had any problems, like, but like this industry is so small and everybody knows everybody,
yeah.
even at like 3 studios. Like you pretty much know people everywhere. Like um and yeah, like I'd say word spreads fast, like good and
Yes.
bad. So like
I
yeah,
think that's an
just
important one. I don't think people
be a nice guy.
remember enough is how I think people forget sometimes how small this industry is. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But
And now like with like Facebook and stuff, like it's more interconnected than ever. So
mhm,
like
mhm. Do you think that's a bad thing? Just out of curiosity, like closing statement. Is it bad? It's like that.
um
Like, and I'm only thinking of the worst case scenarios. A bad situation occurs where maybe there's a clash of personalities, and
yeah.
it's like between say a senior and a junior, and it's like it ends up the junior losing out because it's such a small industry. That
Yeah,
word that word could spread pretty quickly. Like, oh, this person's trouble. Even though they're not, it was just a clash of personalities. Like all it could be. Sometimes it is that. Is that a bad thing, or is it
I
overall a
guess I
good
could
thing?
see that as a bad thing, like especially if the junior artist kind of wants a fresh start at a new studio, and
Mm.
they kind of have like this baggage now from the past studio. Um, yeah, like that could be a downside, but like I'd say more often than not, like it's a good thing though, because like if you're a nice guy and everybody loves working with you, somebody will want to recommend you at the new studio,
Mm.
and like I'd say
That's
like
mm,
yeah, that's like so huge, like especially if you're like moving around in studios, it's just like knowing people and having people that want to work with you.
that's fair enough. It's just something that just came to mind, and was worth mentioning. But anyway, dude, I really appreciate you coming on. I know it's late for you. We're gonna wrap up here. Um, so anyone is listening, down below on Twitch there is a link to my Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Please go along, like, follow, subscribe. It helps promote the podcast. And there's also a link to the Dynasty Empire. Please swing by, say hello. It's a really great art community. You can get your work critiqued. You can get feedback from industry artists, both from like juniors up to seniors and leads. It's a really great place to be, and they're just a great bunch of people to be around. But yeah, we're wrapping up, dude. Eric, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a really enjoyable podcast.
Yeah, man, that was fast. Thanks for having me.
All right, peace out, guys.